If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is VSiN By The Books on VSiN, the sports betting network.
And we begin hour number 3, VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross here at Circus Sports Fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. Our closer back home in Cleveland, Ohio, Jensen Lewis. Got a lot to get to in this final hour. JVT is going to join us. We'll talk much more NBA, I'm sure, with Jonathan. He might have some thoughts on what happened last night with the NBA draft lottery and certainly the playoff games as well. But I do want to begin this segment in this hour with, is it news or a whole lot of noise?
Is it news?
Corleone is a man who insists on hearing bad news immediately.
Or just noise?
Are you going to act like this is news? Just noise. This is noise.
Let's separate the impactful from the insignificant with one simple question. News or noise?
Roundball Rock is coming back to the NBA. NBC's going full throwback. And if you know that music in Roundball Rock, you probably think of Michael Jeffrey Jordan in his heyday with the Chicago Bulls and all those games in the 90s. Now, to go with Roundball Rock, NBC is going to bring Michael Jordan to be a contributor for the NBA coverage on NBC. Jensen, news? Maybe it's going to be more noise.
In the immortal words of Marv Albert, a spectacular move by Michael Jordan. I can't wait for his airness to join. It'll be great to get his perspective. Again, for a guy that was so great and so candid in his interviews for The Last Dance, hope he brings that same truth-telling to the broadcast, because it'd be great. This is what we love, right? Our heroes and the greats of all time, to be able to impart their wisdom, give their real-time feel of it, how they see the game. We got a bit of a peek into that with Tom Brady and how he was diagnosing things. Again, some athletes are better in their transition to the media and being able to get those ideas and diagnoses out so that all of us can understand it and see it. But hey, you bring out the stars, people want to hear and want to see them. So can't wait to see his airness, NBA on NBC.
I thought you were going to give me a yes, and it counts.
Yes,
from the marvelous
one. A spectacular move.
By the way, I saw Stormy actually tweeted about this yesterday, to your point, Jensen, of like, if you get, unfiltered Mike, I don't know if that actually plays on the airwaves, right? Because, Mike's going to say what he wants to say. But that's what we're hoping for, that we get. And Stormy's point was, that's what has made Chuck and Shaq and Kenny, obviously, and that whole crew, they've done a great job at TNT through the years. But you do get the feel when you watch them that it's just primarily Shaq and Chuck talking ball, and that they're sitting around, the lunch table, if you will, in high school, giving you their actual. If you get that from Jordan, I wonder what that looks like. By the way, it'd be awesome, because we've heard stories of him in the past, but I wonder, that's what NBC's banking on, that you're getting Shaq Barkley, but from the greatest of all time.
Yeah, you and I have been in this business a long time, and we've seen so many different demographics and attempts at chemistry.
Yeah.
We know that the NBA on TNT has the greatest pregame show chemistry, at least in the modern era, of what those guys bring, because it is the perfect balance of personality, experience. Oh, by the way, Shaq's won a boatload of titles, so you get the credibility. Chuck was one of the great players of his generation, and Kenny, was kind of in and around some of those great teams, especially with the Rockets. But I think overall, that's what I love too now about some of the newer, newly retired plays in the NFL too. MLB is so different because it's so regionally based. So a lot of fan bases are very locked in. Of course, I've experienced this for the last 12 years here in Cleveland. Everyone's locked in. They want to hear their people. Very different when you're looking at the NFL being so national, the NBA a bit more away with that bigger market style. So great to have, and excited to hear what he has on his takes for the Hornets and the Bulls too. Two teams he's been so inundated with as well.
The only thing I'd say about that great show on TNT is whenever Chuck goes like Shaq and I were the great players and Kenny was kind of an other, I want Kenny to stand up for himself. Dude, I won 2 rings. I won back-to-back rings with Houston. How many do you have, Charles? He never does that. And maybe from a betting perspective, fade Chuck. Just saying. You might want to throw that out there. According to The Athletic and Ken Rosenthal, how about this? That Rafael Devers, that maybe moving him already is not that far-fetched. It has to do with a positional change, which we talked about before the season began. Is this news or a whole lot of noise?
Well, massive news, and let me give Ryan Spielberg's, again, Sirius Channel 89, MLB Network Radio. He was kind of the first person to bring this to a national audience and say, hey, it is a potential possibility. Will it happen? Remains to be seen. But again, I go back to where we handicapped this American League before the season, Dave, is so wide open, so much parity, and you don't bring an Alex Bregman in just to put butts in the seats. You do it because you feel that this core is ready to win now, and I do feel that you exhaust every single option before this becomes a much bigger reality. So the fact that it's newsworthy, and I appreciate Spilly, bringing that up as a potential, because again, we just talked about culture and chemistry on a pre and post game desk, day in and day out in locker room, 6-month marathon. You may be a star player, but you got to buy in, my friend, and you got to be a big reason why we're winning. So, Red Sox right now still plus 850 to win the American League. I still really like them to win the American League East. I think that price now
4-1,
400, so 4-1. Yep, still very much alive here, and they've got the ingredients, man. But that chemistry, it can break teams, but it can make teams. So we'll follow this one in the coming weeks.
Well, the good news is if it doesn't work out, he's only got a 10-year contract for $315 million that you'd have to possibly eat. I look at
that cost certainty.
I mean, holy mackerel! Like if they move Devers, okay, and they say because I think you're alluding to it, and Ryan seems like he's alluding to it too on SiriusXM, is that chemistry. He might be divisive. If we're reading between the lines, he doesn't want to play first base, turns that down. We saw about all the distractions once you made Bregman and you brought him in. I don't want to know that, is it addition by subtraction, because he can be a great player. We all know that. That's why he gave him the money. But do I like that bet at 4-1 if you move on from Rafi? And do you really get fair market value to move him at this point?
Oh, that number will blow up. That'll be double digits to me, just knowing what he means offensively to the continuity of that group. Yeah, that's a tectonic plate shift if Rafi Devers is dealt by the Red Sox.
I wonder, we talk about addition by subtraction, if that could really work, because I can't imagine they move him to accommodate him, right? You would move him if you're really thinking the best interest of the Red Sox, and somehow you can get better from that move, right?
They can't do it for 2 reasons. Number one, that's a boatload of money to eat for a guy that's primarily a DH. He's very average to below average as an infielder. And secondly, John Henry, that front, they're going to witness protection because of what they just did with Mookie Betts. You can't do that. No way.
You imagine you could have given this deal to Mookie 3 years. Oh, and wow, and you gave it to Rafael, and now he wants out. That is a mess right there for $315 million over 10 years. Profit X is not a mess. You got to check it out if you haven't done so today. NBA playoffs obviously heating up right now. Our partner Profit X are offering the best odds all playoff season long. It's a peer-to-peer sports exchange available in 40 or more states here across the country. You're going to be able to make your sports picks against other groups of fans rather than the books. That's always a better thing, people. These exchange rates are going to guarantee you the best odds on average of 10 to 20%. You can even request your own odds if you want to do so at a certain price. So download Profit X today. Use the code VSiN. Earn up to $200 in profit cash over your very first month. Okay, much more to get to here on the program. I've got some plays that are in pocket. And Jensen, we'll get to those in the next segment here, whereas this hour goes on. But the numbers for the PGA Championship have already dramatically been changing since I made these plays in town yesterday. Like, our buddy Cupmaker Jeff Seeley, shout out to Jeff. And he's a big Brooks Koepka guy, as I've been through the years as well. And we've kind of united over our love of Brooksy. I went to the Westgate yesterday here in town, and I thought, am I not the smartest guy in the room? And I'll get Brooks Koepka at 50-1, which, because you can only get 33-1, 30-1 at the beginning of the day at Circa yesterday on Brooksy. He's now up to 46-1 here at Circa, so I still get the better of the number. And I just said, is he dead? Did he die? Joking, he's fine. But why is my guy Brooksy dropping off the face of the earth in the numbers market here, Jensen, as we get on the eve of a championship? He's won, by the way, 3 times. What's going on there?
Wow. Yeah, and that's something that I'll be intrigued to follow throughout the day and into tomorrow. We talked about it yesterday in a commercial break, and I'm like, well, I'll throw a bid on him to, at least not have FOMO.
Right.
I mean, it is the PGA. It is a major. So intrigued to kind of hear as reports come out today. The monsoon of rain yesterday.
Yeah.
By the way, if you ever saw the pictures and the video of what that weather looked like in North Carolina, I think it's more a FOMO play for me. I got him at 35-1. I know that's drifted on DraftKings a bit here. We shall see. I know that Matty Humans talked Justin Thomas. I love that. I am going back to the well. I'm going back to Colin Morikawa.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, we're going to get into those picks in the next segment. I'll just say this. When it comes to Brooks and the PGA Championship, Preacher Man says to Booby Miles, hey, Booby, you didn't lift today. What did Booby say? This is God-given, baby. All I got to do is show up. That's Brooks. He just shows up at the PGA Championship. It's God-given. Doesn't need to practice. We'll talk more of the PGA. That is next here on VSiN By The Books.
You're tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back. VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross, Jensen Lewis. We get really excited for our next guest. Always love to bring them on. Certainly for big-time events. They don't get a whole lot bigger than the PGA Championship this week at Quail Hollow. The one and only Rex Hoggard joins us here from Golf Channel. Give him a follow on X as I do at Rex Hoggard GC. Joins us on the Progressive Guest Line. And Rex, I said, I have not watched your coverage. You know how much I love you guys and Todd Lewis and Steve Sands, and you guys all do a great job. But I knew it was going to be all Rory. And I don't want to bet Rory this week at the PGA. Am I just being stubborn here, or should I take the cookie for a guy that's had such a great track record at Quail Hollow?
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. Have a good week. See ya. I get what you're saying, and you're much better at this than I am. You just don't see any value in the actual bet, which I can certainly understand. I can't ignore the obvious, which is not only is he playing well, not only are we going to spend, and I'm with you, we're going to spend the next 3 days on live from talking about did the Masters victory free him up now to sort of take that next step, to start winning multiple majors in a season and start doing the things that he did earlier in his career and his record on this golf course. It is interesting. When you walk into scoring here at Quail Hollow, there is a huge poster on the wall. And it says, in case you're curious what this course record is, this is it. And Rory McIlroy shot it here. It was a 61. And then it has an arrow that says the first tee is that way. There is no bigger flex in all of major championship golf if you're Rory McIlroy. I mean, imagine how he's sticking his chest out when he walks by there. And the other 55 players in the field have to look at that every single day going to the first tee. I get it. There's not a lot of value there. But in my mind, he's the easy favorite.
Rex, and to kind of parlay off of that, you believe in how this course sets up in the recent form of a couple of guys. You mentioned Justin Thomas as we were coming on here. Give us a sense of maybe that group that you feel it may not be too far behind Rory in the top of this board.
We had dinner last night with a colleague of mine and then Mark Schlabach from ESPN, and he had done sort of his tiers that he does for majors, which is really good on ESPN.com. But he had just two players in his first tier. And I was sort of making fun of him, like, that's ridiculous. Like, I get Rory and Scotty Scheffler are 1 and 2. I would say they're 1A and 1B. I would make the argument that I don't know that JT needs to be much further than 1C. I don't know that Bryson DeChambeau needs to be much further than 1D. I mean, I can continue to do this with a lot of different players who are not only playing well right now, they're showing form, and I think we've seen that. Even Xander, who probably would have been out of the conversation because of the injury that he sort of spent most of the early season recovering from. However, he had a solid week last week. He did the things last week that you would want to see him doing well coming into this particular test. And I think you could come up with 5 guys, the 5 guys I just named, and you can make a really good argument for any of the 5.
Talking to Rex Hoggard here at the Golf Channel. And, Rex, weather does feel like it's an issue, at least early in the week here. We saw the rain yesterday. I believe you're getting a lot of it down there at Quail Hollow again today. Does that just make this a bomber's paradise, which does get it back to, obviously, Rory, you think about with that driver, maybe first and foremost here. How much does the weather, will it impact the play come Thursday?
I don't think the rain turned this into a bomber's paradise. I think the club turned this into a bomber's paradise when they designed the golf course and kept designing it and building new tees and new greens and everything that they do here at Quail Hollow year in and year out. I was looking at some stats that came in this morning. It's when it comes to distance bias on the PGA Tour, this course ranks 3rd. So you get an idea that it's always going to be the bomber's paradise that you want. Certainly the rain is only going to factor into that. There's more rain in the forecast. I just talked with the PGA of America meteorologist. There's 3 inches of rain over the last 5 days.
Wow.
So the golf course is wet. It's going to play slow. But the good news is by Thursday it should be fine.
Rex, let me give you a couple of guys and your initial thoughts on their potential to win here. So a couple of guys that I will have in my portfolio this week. I joked with Dave, like I'm a sucker to go back with Colin Morikawa, but at 25-1, I'm also in that FOMO category there. Shane Lowry at 55-1, and then Russell Henley at 65-1 are other ones that will for sure be there. Dave talked me into a bomb and Daniel Berger at over 100-1. To give you those 4 guys, anyone you want to kind of highlight for me there?
It would be Shane Lowry. I mean, he pretty much carried Rory at the Zurich Classic, the team event 2 weeks ago, and you could see how well he was playing. And then that carried over to last week at Philly Cricket Club for the Wells Fargo Championship. I'm sorry, the Truist Championship. He played really well, didn't have his best stuff on Sunday. Now, this golf course is really long, and Shane is long, plenty long for PGA Tour standards. I don't know if he's PGA Quail Hollow long. I guess we'll find out. I think Sepp Straka, who won last week at Philly Cricket, would be another player where clearly he's playing well, but does he have the specific skill set, to borrow the phrase, that you need on this particular golf course? But I really like Shane in that category.
You know, I'm looking at one name, too, that I did have on my card here, Rex, and it's the big Swede in Ludvig Åberg. And I feel like he's drifted. Like I think people forgot it at Augusta because we're always talking about Justin Rose and Rory. He had a putt for birdie on 17 to tie for the lead before the disaster at 18, but he kind of removed himself on 17. But the point is, he was still knocking on the door. Is there what's going on with Ludvig? Is anything at all for a reason for this small drift?
I mean, I think you go back to last year. You pointed out how well he played in the major championships, and then there was a drop-off towards the middle and end of the season, and that had everything to do with he suffered a knee injury. He had to have surgery in the off-season, and you can't overestimate how that impacts you. And I know a player is going to try to play through it and try to do the right thing, but it doesn't take much for an athlete at this level to get off, and you only need to be off by a percentage point or 2 to suddenly find yourself scrambling to make the cut, whereas you were thinking I could contend at this event. I think we have started to see the other side of Ludvig this year, and I wouldn't be shocked at all to see him in contention on this golf course. He has all the skills.
Rex, maybe a guy that isn't being talked about really at all, and maybe because of the performance at the Masters. I have John Rahm as a play in a top 10 market this week, upwards of plus $1.90, almost 2-1 in some places. What's your diagnosis of his game at this time? A guy that perennially for a while has been good in history, but where is he now, and how does his game suit this course in your eyes?
You're looking at a player that before he went to live, I would have said he would have been a perennial contender at any major. Doesn't matter what golf course, doesn't matter which major. He simply has a game that's going to travel and is at that level. Certainly what happened last year, and it's a small sample size, so I don't want to overstate this. However, what happened with John in the majors last year was less than impressive based on his relative record, based on what he had done in the past. I didn't want to jump to conclusions because I don't think it's fair to judge any of the LIV players for what they do in 4 tournaments out of the year. It's hard to judge any of the LIV players because there comes a special set of circumstances and a special set of pressures when it comes to the LIV guys, because they know at best You have 4 chances to play against the other best players in the world. You need to make the most of them. And I don't think that's a recipe for success as a professional golfer. All that being said, I've made the argument time and time again. If you were a top 5 player when you joined Live Golf, and Jon Rahm was a top 5 player when he joined Live Golf, you're still a top 5 player. And I'm going to be surprised if we're having this conversation at the end of the year after the Open Championship is played and Jon has gone through another major season, not necessarily winning a major, but seriously contending.
I'm right there with you. And you look at some of the Live guys, and I don't think we're questioning Bryson. Obviously, he's single digits now to win this championship. Neiman, who we know, maybe the best player right now on Live Golf, 30-1 there. I want to ask you about Brooks, because I feel like people are thinking that it's over for Brooksy. The Brooks days of winning the PGAs, however he's done it. It was just a couple years ago when he won his last one there at Oak Hill in Rochester, New York. Can he just show up at PGA Championships and U.S. Opens for whatever reason and find himself in the first page of the leaderboard, Rex?
Boy, if Brooke could just shoot that comment that you just made into his veins, he would do it every single day. He just thrives on the idea that people are going to doubt him, that somehow they think he's not a major contender anymore. And I would kind of put him in the same category as Jon Rahm last year. And again, I caution against small sample sizes when it comes to Live players in the major championships, because I don't think anything has changed with Brooks. He's still the same player that I truly believe can flip the switch. He just didn't do it last year. He didn't do it at the Masters earlier this year, and it remains to be seen if he can here. This is the type of golf course that Brooks in his major championship prime would have loved. He would have salivated, and he would have had that chip on his shoulder, people doubting him. I just don't know if he's still there, to be honest with you.
All right, Rex, last one from me. As you sit there on Sunday and you see this leaderboard, who are the 2 guys you think contending as we tee off for the final round at the PGA?
You're not going to like this. Actually, I'll mix it up a little bit. I'm going to say Rory for all the obvious reasons. So I didn't want to lean too much into that one. But the player that just walked by me this morning and had a chance to talk to him a little bit, Will Zalatoris. If you go back to the way he was playing before he had his back injury and everything that he had to go through, this too would be the perfect kind of golf course that would set up well for him. If you remember, just a few years ago, he contended right until the very end on Sunday at a PGA Championship. And I'm not sure if he's 100% back, but I think he would be the type of player that if he's there, everyone's going to look at each other and thought, yep, I could see that coming.
Okay, we are now frantically running to our screens for Willie Z, because he was not on me and Jensen's radar at all, Rex. I can promise you that.
Come back to bite me. I'm not sure that one's going to age well, but I gave it a shot.
Hey, Rex, we know you're a really busy man. You guys do excellent work. I can't actually wait to get home and watch the coverage of the rest of the day. So really appreciate your time and enjoy the PGA Championship.
5 o'clock Rory talk, so I wouldn't tune in until after that.
I will make sure to wait, because I know Rory, he should be. He should be the talk of the town. He is the talk of the town down there at Quail Hollow. We appreciate Rex joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line. When we come back, JVT, Jonathan Von Tobel, is going to join us. Cannot wait to get his thoughts on how the Mavericks happened to get that #1 pick. We'll discuss when you come back with us right here at VSiN By The Books.
VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back. VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross, Jensen Lewis. Great conversation with Rex Hoggard in the last segment from the Golf Channel. Maybe a surprise bomb play there. Will Zalatoris, he thinks could really have a big week this week at Quail Hollow. Always enlightening conversations when we have them with Rex, and now always entertaining with our guy, Jonathan Von Tobel. Give him a follow on X, as I do, at MeJVT. Does a great job with Stormy Bonatoni here on Money Moves, weekdays here in the network. And Jonathan, your Twitter follow is very, sometimes it can go to different places than other than just basketball. I had to shut it down, so I couldn't see last night. What was your initial reaction to the fairness process that appears to be getting Dallas the #1 pick and potentially Cooper Flagg?
First off, you going off Twitter, I think, is a bigger upset than the Mavericks getting the first overall pick, Dave. I'm very surprised that is the case.
I try to stay on 24/7.
Yeah, right. Look, I think a lot of people are shocked, and rightfully so, that the Dallas Mavericks end up getting the first overall pick. But, folks, it is a 1.8% chance, and guess what? That 1.8% happened. I look over to my screen right here where I have Google Chrome opened up, and on the continue with these tabs, it is the rigged search on X, as many people are believing that this is something that was rigged. I would ask, did the rigging happen before Kyrie's torn ACL and before the groin injury for Anthony Davis, or did that happen prior to them both getting injured and then setting in motion? Look, this is a team that wanted to make the playoffs. We saw them. They tried their best to get on there. I think it's a little ridiculous to go down the path of the NBA did this on purpose. And I also would push back, Dave, because I think there's a lot of people who are like, hey, look, what does this do in terms of de-incentivizing tanking? Look what happened to the Utah Jazz and the Charlotte Hornets. These are teams that had their, not the Charlotte Hornets, Washington Wizards. Look at they had the top chances to get the first overall pick, guys. They didn't finish in the top 4. So yes, that is the whole purpose here. It shows you that these flattened out lottery odds are doing what they're supposed to do. You as a team are not going to be able to benefit from losing on purpose, screwing over your fans. You are not guaranteed to get one of the better picks in this draft. And look at a team like the Mavericks. Again, a team that did try down the stretch despite injuries to get into the postseason, and they get the first overall pick. So you can miss me with the nonsense about rigged. You can miss me with the thing of like, this doesn't really work. I think it works completely when you're talking about what the league has wanted to do. And again, we have to stop being so reactionary. Just because something happened that you didn't like doesn't mean the process doesn't work. I don't like it either. I don't think they should have been rewarded for stepping in it. I thought it was incredible. I think, was it their owner yesterday that called it, quote, a reversal of fortune? You're the one that traded Luka Doncic. You don't get to call this a reversal of fortune. But the whole conversation around the system, I think, has been a little nauseating over the last 12 hours or so.
Yeah, say it louder for people in the back, JVT. It's an excellent point and well said. Okay, so the domino effect, and I asked Dave about this earlier. Anxious your thoughts as well. The domino effect, we'd assume Cooper Flagg now first overall to Dallas. That now leaves San Antonio, who has the 2 pick, in a very enviable spot where they can either make the pick or they can trade the pick. And I know a lot has surfaced about Giannis here in the last couple of weeks. Would you rather look at a future for next year, say on Dallas at 25-1, the Spurs at 25-1, maybe even, the Warriors 25-1, just people in the market for Giannis, maybe in the Rockets 16-1. How do you now handicap what the domino effect is with the draft order and where San Antonio now sits at 2 with what happened with Damian Lillard and ultimately where the Giannis sweepstakes could be?
Yeah, I think you're definitely looking in those directions, Jensen. And I'm really glad you actually brought up a key point here, because I tweeted something to this effect yesterday, and Brian Windhorst said this on the broadcast yesterday too. Guys, there is an Antetokounmpo on the Dallas Mavericks roster. The Dallas Mavericks have wanted Giannis Antetokounmpo for a very long time. They are a team that has willingly shortened their window by trading for Anthony Davis. And so it would actually make sense for them to heavily consider using this first overall pick to go and get Giannis Antetokounmpo. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility at all here. There's an assumption that Cooper Flagg is going to be the first pick for Dallas. He's going to be the first pick. I don't know if it is a given that he dons a Dallas Mavericks uniform by the time we get to next season. Having said that, I think you're right. I also think, Jensen, one of the teams that you should look at, and it's not going to be very much worth it because the odds are going to be very short. But look, I have said this, and I said this yesterday on the show in the Money Moves. I don't care if the Thunder go on to win every single game here on forward, win 2 straight, sweep their Western Conference Finals opponent, and then sweep whoever comes out of the Eastern Conference. They should call the Milwaukee Bucks. They have all of these assets for a reason, and that is a team that is very much worth looking at. They have those things that you don't have to dip into the main core to then go and get him. I think a problem with a team like San Antonio, for example, is that like Stephon Castle might be part of a package to go get Giannis along with the second overall pick, and you're severely undercutting what would be a very good core and a very good team to potentially win a championship. I think the Spurs are in the running for sure, but I would be looking more like teams like Oklahoma City who are going to try to accelerate that, potentially Houston because they also have the package, and don't just kick the can down the road and say Cooper Flagg going to be a Maverick. There are a lot of signs pointing to the Dallas Mavericks desiring Giannis Antetokounmpo in a Mavericks uniform.
Wow, that's fascinating. And by the way, before we break down the game tonight, and I know you do have a play on it, it still is minus $2 betting favorite that Giannis returns to Milwaukee. So the other counterpoint would be they're not even on the first page to win the title next year, right? But if Giannis did go back, can you do the rebuild around Giannis now and try to go for that second chip in Milwaukee?
No, I don't think you can. I mean, maybe Dave, the events of last night with Jason Tatum injuring his leg and potentially being done for next year, if it's indeed what we all fear right now, right? Like the Eastern Conference then becomes a little bit more open,
right?
If you're talking about it from that perspective, because obviously a power that already is up against it financially because of the depth that they have to this roster, that they probably need to become a little bit thinner, and so maybe that door opens in the Eastern Conference. But you, as the Milwaukee Bucks, still will have to deal with the New York Knicks. You'll still have to deal with the Indiana Pacers. One would assume because of the financial situation, the Cavaliers run it back, and you're going to have a team that is very formidable in the regular season as well. Like, you're still going to be in that range of being maybe the fourth best team in the Eastern Conference. And that also doesn't assume a potential step forward from a team that made it to the postseason this year in the Detroit Pistons, right? So I do think that there's maybe a case you make if you're Milwaukee. The problem is, how much better are you getting? You're still going to have Damian Lillard on your books. You're not going out and getting anything better. So essentially, you're going to run it back with the crew that ended the regular season for Giannis over the 8 games or so and started that that postseason series against Indiana. And I just don't think that's feasible if you're talking about winning championships like Giannis has.
It's a great breakdown, JVT, and that leads us to, as Dave mentioned tonight, where the Pacers an opportunity to put the Cavs to bed, and I can tell you it feels surreal here in Northeast Ohio, just with what the regular season was. You mentioned it, and again, twofold. You talk Timberwolves in the West as a team that could be a force to be reckoned with. You mentioned the Pacers as the team that could give the Cavaliers resistance. I realize injuries are there, but still, the Pacers doing what they've done. More shock to you that it is where it is right now, or is this more an emboldened Pacers squad that we should believe in?
I think I'm a little shocked that we're here only because, Jensen, of the way they kind of quit over the weekend, right? Like, that's, to me, it's not like the most shocking thing that they're down 3-1, considering the injuries, considering the potential of the Indiana Pacers. It's more of how we've gotten here, especially that last game where that looked like a team that the second that game started, mentally, they weren't there. Yet you had them getting into scraps. They were really not focused. Yet DeAndre Hunter do the weird thing where he's like, yep, I was doing 3D chess this whole time. And then they went and got smoked the second that they get Benedict Mathurin ejected from that game. That was kind of weird. But given the injuries, I don't think it's a shock that we're here, but the Indiana Pacers deserve credit. Their floor is very high as an offensive team, which brings me here to today. I mean, I understand the Cavs are desperate. I understand the market thinks that they're better than Cleveland. I think at this point, right, I'm somebody that thought that the Cavaliers could win this series relatively quickly. Obviously, that's not going to be the case. I am surprised that we are still here at 8 in favor of Cleveland. Look, there's nothing in the last 4 games that would tell us Cleveland is a better team, much less a markedly better team, which the market is telling you right here, putting this number at 8. This would be one that I'm willing to go down with the ship and just grab 8 here with the Indiana Pacers. These dogs have done well so far here in this second round, but the market is clearly too high on Cleveland. And here we are again, 8. Like, boys, that's telling us, unless you're using, and still doesn't make sense, unless you're using like 5 for home court advantage, right, which you shouldn't be considering the way these road teams are playing. This is a wild number considering what we've seen now through 4 games.
Ugliest game 4 we saw was in Denver, 17-8 after 1. OKC had a rally to get that win and not the series up at 2. Look, I still think the best big 2 with Tatum's injury and Steph Curry's injury is obviously Jokic and Murray. But is that enough tonight to take the 10 against OKC?
I think they're just gassed, Dave. And I would sit there and wait to see if this number gets cheaper in game and try to lay it with Oklahoma City. But the Nuggets have played. I think this is going to be like their 8th game in 15 days or whatever it is. They've played so much playoff basketball. They don't have any depth whatsoever. I think the Thunder are going to win this series because of attrition, not so much of the way they've played, especially on offense. But very quietly, guys, OKC has done their job on defense. They have been very good. The Nuggets' offensive rating has been abysmal throughout this series. Jokic, the last 3 games, part of it is fatigue. Part of it is them just throwing every different defensive look at him possible, and he is shooting under 40% from the floor and averaging just about 25 points per game. They've done a really good job, and I think that continues here. I think the Thunder win, but I'm not laying that big.
Up to 10.5, by the way. Hey, with Stormy today on Money Moves, keep throwing out those conspiracy theories. I know they love them on X. I think it'll play well.
Yes, they very much do. A lot of people do.
Give a follow at me, JVT. Check him out with Stormy later on today here on Money Moves. Our best bets are next.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger. Because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, For the ones who get it done.
You're tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
A lot of fun this last hour. JVT joining us in the last segment. Be sure to check out he and Stormy Bonatoni later on today for Money Moves. I'm sure he'll have a lot more thoughts on the NBA draft process. No rigging, says Jonathan. It's just all on the up and up. I want to believe that there's rigging. It's more fun. But we'll see how that does all play out. But the tentacles there for Giannis, as we were getting to at the end of the conversation. It is amazing, Jensen, how what's happened last night and the free agent tentacles in the NBA are now dominating. I don't know if it's going to be the rest of the postseason, but the immediate postseason, they're not talking about. Maybe it's because of the injuries with Steph Curry and certainly Donovan Mitchell and Jason Tatum. But it is amazing that that's the focus now as you're getting down to the nitty-gritty of the NBA playoffs.
And to put a bow on the conspiracy parts, because this extends all the way back. I saw some stuff on social media. 2011, Chris Paul traded from New Orleans to L.A. to the Clippers. Magically, the New Orleans Pelicans get the number one pick in 2012. Anthony Davis is traded to the Lakers in 2019. Magically, Zion is the number one pick to the New Orleans Pelicans 2019. Luka gets traded to the LA Lakers. Magically, the Mavericks have the number one pick. I don't know whether that's conspiracy or if that is a pattern. But hey, here we are. By the way, also a pattern in the Knicks fans, whoever made it to work today, congratulations out of you. The Knicks and the Mets have a line from a betting standpoint here. When the Knicks have won, the Mets have won.
Oh.
And when the Knicks have lost, the Mets have lost this postseason. Just food for thought. If you're looking to back the Metropolitans blindly, Knicks did win yesterday. If that pattern follows, the Mets should win today.
And Mets beat Pirates yesterday on Paul Skeens Day. So it still worked out. By the way, no truth to the rumors that Cooper Flagg has already put on 40 pounds and been traded to the Lakers. Let's get to some of our best bets. I want to start with golf. The Rex Hoggard conversation was absolutely fascinating to me. Of course, our best bets are brought to us by G-Bank, the official bank of VSiN. And I just did not have Willie Z on my card. I believe you and I will both be adding Z to that card. These are the numbers that I got yesterday, not a week ago, not 2 weeks ago, Jensen. And these numbers have already changed. I did back the big Swede. Went over to Westgate, got him at 25-1. He's now 28-1 here at Circa. So had I waited, it could have got $3 more. I don't understand that drift on the big Swede, as we talked to Rex about. It does feel like the golf course should be perfect for these bombers. Patrick Cantlay never won a major. And by the way, we're going to have Tyler Fulgham on tomorrow's show. He's a big Cantlay guy. Told me years ago he'd win 2 majors at least. I'm still waiting on one. I don't like betting Patrick Cantlay, but I did it at the number at 39-1. Pretty good form, too. Played really well last week as well. We talked about the bomber, Brooks, that he can just booby miles this thing and just show up God-given talent. And I do really like that play. I will be surprised if he misses a cut or it's really not in the mix here, because he does seem to be that guy that's got the chip on the shoulder. And I look for Brooks to have a big bounce-back week this week. Daniel Berger, you got a much better number on Berger than I got. I got him at 70. I think he's drifted close to triple digits at some spots. This is a guy to me, Jensen, he feels ready to win again. We talk about the injuries and coming back from certain guys. Berger, man, I think he's going to be winning this year on the PGA Tour. Could it be at a major this week at Quail Hollow? Golf course should be pretty good to his liking. Then 2 absolute bombs. Small pizza money bets on these guys. Didn't get too crazy. But Thomas Dietrich is a class player. And remember when he won on tour, where he won it? It was over there at Phoenix in a world-class event. And the raucous par 3 and everybody throwing beer can. He ran away from one of the best fields in golf. So the talent is there. And at 275-1, I could not pass up a pizza bet on him. And then a really talented Australian not named Adam Scott or Cam Smith. It's Cam Davis. It's the other Cam from Australia. Length should not be a problem. He showed up at some big-time events. He's won on the PGA Tour as well. It's a long shot play, but if it's not one of the big guns, I'd like to have one of these plays. And Cam Davis is a guy that I just look at and go, you got to go low. He's got the capabilities like Dietrich to really post some numbers. Don't know if they can do it for all 4 days, but if they're around in the mix on Sunday, that's all I can ask for at that 275 and 400 to 1 tickets.
I love it. I will have not only my plays for tomorrow's show, but I do have a couple of daily fantasy lineups that we can get into as well. You mentioned Thomas Dietrich. He will be involved in one of those, as will Daniel Berger. I did blindly just tail Rex Hoggard, 130 to 1 for Willie Z.
I love
it on DraftKings. So I mean, why not? But I did get in on JT. I did get in on Colin Morikawa. We can highlight that tomorrow. Shane Lowry, 55 to 1 for me. Russ Henley, 65 to 1, and then Pizza Money Cam Smith at 131. A couple of top 10 markets, as I mentioned, to Rex and just kind of seeing. Rombo may be there. If not, okay, I'll take a stab. I know, British Jesus, we shouldn't be doing these things. Bad habits we're supposed to break.
Yeah, but I don't mind a top 10. I'm not going to get mad at you for a top 10, just not an outright, right? We cannot bet Tommy Fleetwood in outright markets anymore.
No, we certainly cannot. I do have a play on the ice tonight. I mentioned it when we were talking to Paul earlier in the show. Stars on the puck line, plus $1.80 against the Jets. I just think, and this will be music to Brandon Valesky's ears, I just think the Stars continue the literal avalanche of momentum that they carried over beating from Colorado. Connor Hellebuck can't save anything on the road, so I think the Stars. And this was funny, listening to the NBA commentators last night. Why is it a commanding 3-1 lead always? Has it ever been a pedestrian 3-1 lead? In this case, I do feel it would be commanding for the Stars over the Jets, but I do think that they win by multiple goals tonight. Speaking of multiple runs, I told you earlier, I feel that the Phillies can stop the Cardinals winning streak. I don't think the Cardinals get to 10, even with their ace, Sonny Gray, on the mound. Phillies a winner tonight. And then our Redlegs. We got to get a little momentum going.
Come on.
They're in the right place at the right time. They're hosting the lowly White Sox. Give me the over 9.5 at Great American Launching Pad. That's even money right now if you want to jump on that. But I do think the Redlegs and the offense carry the day. You see the total at 9 right there at Circa, over juice to $1.15.
I will just say this. This was part of our handicaps when we made the Reds. One of our long shot picks for the best month in May. You got to look at the schedules and see where you can get the White Sox, get the Rockies. Those are where you can take advantage of it. So Reds, we've already kind of written you off for the month of May. We can start to look in the rear view if you can get a sweep of the Sox this week, right? Like, we're not going to get overly excited because this was part of the handicap that this is, you got to take care of business, Cincinnati. And it starts today, $1.84 on the money line play there for the Redlegs. By the way, G-Bank, most credit cards are they're going to treat sportsbook and gaming transactions as cash advances. That's not the case with G-Bank with your Visa signature card when you get it today. That's even when you put your own money on the card, by the way. G-Bank's going to treat those gaming transactions as purchases, so you're saving up to 3 to 5% on cash advance fees on gaming transactions right then and there. Also with G-Bank, you're earning 1% cashback rewards on all of your eligible sportsbook and gaming transactions and 2% cashback rewards on all other eligible purchases. Apply now at VSiN.com/GBank. That's VSIN.com/GBank. Great show today. A lot of primers. I will be watching a lot of Golf. When I'm not watching VSiN, I'm going to flip over and watch Golf Channel with Rex Hoggard, who we had on today, to really get a feel for how the golf course is going to play. I know for certain guys like Rory McIlroy, it might not even matter because he's won 4 times on this track at Quail Hollow. But I think for the rest of the guys, we were talking about it off air a little bit. We saw Hideki Matsuyama. He was practicing in the monsoon yesterday, Jensen. Didn't bother Mats. He's out there trying to get putts in. I mean, this is what happens when you get to a second major of a year. Normally, guys are back, having a snack and watching TV. They're out there still grinding in the rain. It looks like it's another muddy track today, but Jensen, they got to get the work in, right?
Yeah, certainly. By the way, speaking of the PGA, can I interest you in the Pacers? Plus 7.5 tonight, the Thunder in the money line, and Rory to win. That gets you to 13 to 1. Does that intrigue you at all for Rory to win the PGA?
So I'm getting the Pacers plus 7.5, OKC
tonight.
to take care of business on the money line. Yeah.
Yep.
Like, I like that. Again, all kidding aside, when we had Rex on, like, you know, it's going to be, the talk should be Rory. It really should be.
Yeah.
Right? So even though it's
Yeah.
the shortest number, and we don't like to play those here in the network because we're not finding the true value in it, I guess the other juxtaposition would be, well, if he runs away and hides, why didn't you grab the 5-1, right? Why didn't you grab it when you had the opportunity? I think just us as bettors, Jensen, we can't wrap our head around that notion, right?
That's right. That's so true.
That's
well,
what-
hey, can't wait to get it underway. Can't wait to see how it all plays out.
13-1 makes a little bit more sense with your to get it there with the Pacers and certainly OKC in the money line. Great show as always today. Don't go anywhere because we know that Gil Alexander, Kelly Bidlin, they got you covered with the numbers game. Money moves, as we mentioned, JVT and Stormy. And then prop points coming up 2 to 3 Eastern. That's all right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.